Brian, good afternoon to all of our viewers here in Northwest Arkansas, the River Valley, parts of Southwest Missouri, and into eastern Oklahoma. I'm Joshua Weisel here with a look at your forecast for the remainder of today. In fact, we're expecting a little bit warmer conditions. We did bump up some of the temperatures further to the west in the Tulsa metro, even back towards Stillwater, as highs in some of those locations could be into the mid to upper 80s today. Same with the River Valley. That's going to be another warm spot. Otherwise, Southwest Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, still expected to be into the lower 80s, maybe a couple mid 80s by the time you get closer to the I-40 corridor. It's going to be warmer today. We've got some humidity. There's also the chance for some showers and storms later this evening. Now, not everyone's going to see this activity, but this afternoon into this evening, there could be a couple of pop-up showers and storms. Some could be capable of maybe some large hail and damaging winds and a low but not zero tornado potential. We'll get to that here in just a second. But the moral of the story today, not quite as hot as it could be for this time of year, so we'll take that as a win. So if you're headed out to the pool or anything like that this afternoon, it's a great afternoon. It's going to be manageable in terms of those temperatures when you factor in the humidity, but you're going to want to maybe keep an eye on the radar later this afternoon and evening. Overnight tonight, a little bit warmer. We're going to be back into the upper 60s, lower to mid 70s pretty much throughout the region. So it's going to be another warm start to the morning for some locations, a little bit cooler in others, but not a terrible start to the day, but it's not going to be in the 50s like we saw the past couple of mornings. So that's a look at what we've got there. Let's take a look at the severe weather risk for today. And it's not going to be high or anything like that. We're in the low range, and that's because you're going to get, maybe a handful of storms today, this afternoon, and again this evening. It's not going to be widespread activity, and not everyone's going to see storms, but there will be a handful of storms across the area this afternoon and this evening, and maybe one or two of those could reach some strong to severe limits. So let's walk you through what we're talking about with that. Here's a look at the risk. It's mostly for areas north of I-40 for this afternoon into this evening, and it's a lower end potential. I think the main risks today are going to be for those discrete cells to produce maybe some large hail, maybe some damaging winds. It's not going to be a widespread or significant severe weather event, but if you get a couple handfuls of the isolated cells, then that will be primarily a risk for some damaging hail. But we're not, talking the most significant severe weather event we've ever seen. Damaging winds will also be possible. There's also a low but not zero tornado risk. So we are going to be keeping an eye on that activity for this evening and tonight, or this afternoon into early tonight. But right now, again, not everyone's going to see storms. Not everyone's going to see severe storms in general. Here's a look at the overall rainfall risk for today. And in terms of the rain chances, again, they're greater further to the north. And we'll show you future scan here in just a minute. But you can see it's right around the medium to the high levels. Some areas are very high, especially portions of southwest Missouri, northeast Oklahoma. And that's based off of where future scan is showing the likelihood of that development. Now, it's not going to be widespread. It's not going to be long-lived, so it's not going to go from, Kansas all the way down into Louisiana. We're not talking, big storm complexes like that or anything. It's these little pop-ups. You may get one or two that start to have a little bit of that supercell structure where they could produce the larger hail, but not everyone's going to see that activity. In fact, in terms of rainfall totals, some of us could pick up a couple tenths of an inch to maybe close to an inch, really just depending on the location, how heavy the rainfall is, and its overall movement. So that's a look at what we've got there. Here's a look at future scan. Now, by the time we get to, I'd say, by 2 o'clock this afternoon, that's when we got a couple of areas that we'll need to watch in southwest Missouri, but the main activity will be closer to that 5 o'clock timeline, continuing into 7, 8, 9, even 10 o'clock tonight, and then things should wrap up by the time we get to midnight. And then we have another risk for severe storms tomorrow. This one's going to be a little bit tricky because southwest Missouri has overall the higher risk for activity. It's not going to be a high risk or anything like that, but in terms of, the likelihood for the entirety of the area, a little bit more probabilities in southwest Missouri that we'll have to keep an eye on. And it's going to be tricky because there's going to be a complex of storms to the north. It's going to be making its way towards our area, and it will be on a weakening trend. So we'll need to see, does that eventually make its way to the area? Does it bring a risk for strong to severe storms with it? That type of deal. So we'll keep an eye on that forecast, but you can see maybe some additional activity the morning of the 18th. And we'll keep an eye on all of that activity. So here's a look at what we got with the 7-day forecast. Again, rain chances today only around 30%. Not everyone's going to see the activity today, but I just want you to be mindful. If it looks like the sky is looking a little bit more favorable for rain this afternoon, you're going to want to probably not be poolside in the event that there's lightning. But overall, most of the area should stay pretty quiet. Now, there's already some showers and storms near the Joplin area as of the time of this update. Southwest Missouri, northeast Oklahoma have the overall greatest chance for rain. But if you're in northwest Arkansas, I'd also keep an eye on it. River Valley, we kept some low rain chances there in case we get a couple pop-ups, but nothing widespread. Here's a look at what we got for eastern Oklahoma. Again, only around 20% for the entirety of the area because not everyone's going to see the coverage we have today. And then as we make our way into southwest Missouri, kind of the same thing, except rain chances are going to be a little bit higher today and again tomorrow into early Thursday. Rain chances continue into the weekend, but like I said, over the last couple of days, if you have weekend plans, I wouldn't cancel those just yet because, doesn't mean it's going to be an all-day washout or anything like that. So we're keeping an eye on the forecast, but also we're introducing a new segment just because we got some tropical activity to keep an eye on. We'll let you know more about that here with our Tropical Watch segment. So if you're watching on the 24/7 stream, keep it here in the loop. We'll have the latest tropical updates this season, and we'll also keep an eye on the local forecasts as well, as we usually do. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a good one. If you like our media and forecast, be sure to support us today on Patreon. Advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015.